Welcome back. So, we are now in an era where it feels like movies and TV shows that are overlooked initially may get a second look later on and they may get a chance to make their money back. Now, one example of that this summer is Elemental. Elemental opened to a really low opening, and a lot of people talk about, see, no, Disney's dead and Pixar's dead and all this is dead. Meanwhile, since then, Elemental's actually done really well. My wife's gone and watched it twice. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to go and watch it. And so, yeah, it is that era now where it feels like we've kind of come full circle. Back in the 80s and, yeah, mainly in the 80s, we would see movies and TV shows that didn't do well initially, and then they would garner a following, right? And it does feel like now we're getting back into that kind of an era. So last night, when I was looking for something for us to watch on Netflix, and I wanted to watch the final episode of Painkiller, which we eventually did, and I'm going to talk about that as well, but I feel like I want to talk about Jexy first, and then I'll do a video on Painkiller as well. Because, boy, if there's a series that is a little bit inconsistent at points, it's Painkiller. But Jexy might have wrote the book on it. So it was a movie from 2019, and looking at it, I thought, all right, well, we'll give this a shot. It's the number one movie on Netflix in Canada. I'll give it a shot. A lot of people are clearly watching it. We'll see. So Adam Devine plays Phil, a character who is addicted to his phone. Can't put his phone down. And hey, that's the thing. My phone is never further than 5 feet away from me. So I get it. And I thought, you know what? This is kind of topical. And so his phone breaks. He's got to get a new phone. And so he gets this one that has this AI called Jexy on it. And he accepts the terms of service without reading it, which is something that I remember when I did tech support, and I would take supervisor calls as well. And that would be one question I would ask was, this is in terms of service. We don't cover this. And the response I always got from customers was, well, I don't read that. I don't have time to read that. And my answer was, I'm sorry, but you agreed to it before you went on the internet. Before you used our software, you agreed to the terms of service. So if you didn't read it, that means you click that check mark and you click the OK box where it says, I have read and understand the terms of this agreement. So the phone tells him he's stupid right out of the gate. So there's something up with the phone, and they talk about how it's not working and it's malfunctioning, it's got defects. They don't really get into that though. And again, if you're looking for logic, this is not the movie for you. And initially, in looking at the trailer, I thought, okay, so this is going to be about a guy getting a phone that takes over his life, makes his life miserable. And it kind of is, almost. So Rose Byrne does the voice of Jexy. Rose Byrne's been in a ton of movies, so makes sense you get Rose Byrne. I'm sure Jennifer Connelly probably would have been the secondary pick because she seems to do a lot of voiceover work too. Alexandra Shipp plays Kate, and I knew I recognized her, so I had to look her up. She was in the Barbie movie. She was the one that gets the Nobel Prize. I recognized her face, but her hair's completely different in this movie. And you know what? She's a really good actress. I think she did a good job with what she was given in this movie, so I will check out other movies and TV shows she's in as time goes by. There are certain actors and actresses I'm like, yeah, they're good, and I will watch them in whatever they're in. I'm getting there as well with Ryan Gosling. I think I'm there with Ryan Gosling, actually. But Adam Devine is not one of those people, and he could be a bit of a pill. So if you have a lot of Adam Devine in a movie, and there's a lot, and you see a lot of Adam Devine, yeah. So the first half of the movie is really good. Wanda Sykes as Denise, who is selling him the phone, absolutely hilarious. If she was actually selling phones that way, she'd be fired in a week. But absolutely hilarious. Wanda Sykes is great because she kept saying that she was comparing people who are addicted to their phones to crackheads, and he's like, "Well, I'm not like that." And she goes, "Well, no. They go out, they meet people, they socialize, they go out for fresh air." They actually get their steps in. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. That's actually pretty funny and pretty good. So that's the thing. The first half of this movie, I was like, this is pretty funny. There's some clever jokes in here. Now, Michael Pena plays Kai. He is the least funny character in the movie. He's the boss who would not be a boss of any company anywhere ever. And Adam Devine wants to be a journalist, and he's stuck doing lists on the internet. it would have been great to see, I don't know, something come out of that storyline. Anything come out of that storyline. Anything about him becoming a journalist. But you don't really see it. And at the end, when he does get his dream job, and he does have his dream office, in the back of my head, I'm like, nope. Nope. Because his phone, in the meantime, made it appear that he sent naked photos of himself to everybody at work. And that got him fired. So, no, you don't go from a job where you basically got, crappy reference to your dream job. Not in that sector. I didn't buy it. Not for the life of me. And I didn't understand either why at the end some of the people that the naked photos were sent to were there celebrating with him. And I'm like, I don't think they'd be there. I don't think there's a line that was crossed there. And I really don't think those people would necessarily be his friends, because he has two choices. He can either, try to say, well, I did it and whoops, sorry, which again, and then there's the other side where he could have said, well, my phone did that. And then people would be like, so he's crazy. At no point is there, I don't know how to put this. And I really don't want to savage the movie, but it's kind of hard not to, because the second half is so off-putting to me that the phone, so remember, his phone has a defect, but she's in the cloud, whatever that means. So my phone, I have a Pixel phone, so I can do the saying the Google thing, and it'll do the thing for me. And of course, there's Cortana, there's Alexa, there's all the various other ones, right? And so the idea that your version of that can control things outside of, like, I didn't understand the logic of it. And I understand it's just supposed to be a comedy, but I was like, wait, so is she in the phone, or is she taking over? Like, is this Lawnmower Man where she's taking over the internet? She's taking over everything. Because at one point during the movie, it's clear that she's taking over the world, including displaying messages to Phil when he's trying to run away from her on items that aren't connected to the internet. And that's where it kind of started to lose me. I'm like, there's no internet connection on that. There's no interconnection on that either. How would she be doing this? And then nobody reacts. So it's the one thing with these movies that sometimes throws me off. And I know with rewatching Interspace, I was like, there's a lot of shooting going on, and people really aren't reacting the way people would react when there's shooting going on at a mall. So that's odd. And in this movie, people don't react the way you think they would when an AI is basically hijacking all of the electronics to take over. Even Denise, it takes over everything in her sphere, and her answer when a car comes crashing through the window that's being controlled by the AI of Jexy to try to kill Phil, I guess, her reaction is, I'm going on break. There were a lot of missed opportunities in the second half. And there's the storyline then between Alexandra Shipp, who plays Kate, and Adam Devine, who plays Phil, and she is too pretty for him. Jexy tells him right away, she's out of your league. No. And he then has a really awkward phone call with her that the phone sets up because it's trying to help his life, but it's also trying to destroy it at the same time. It doesn't, if you overthink it, it kind of, which is what I'm doing. I'm already up to 9 minutes of overthinking it. But the coupling between Phil and Kate, I never bought that. I never understood why she would be interested in him. It never made any sense, because he's kind of creepy in how he is towards her. He's awkward in how he is towards her. And then he's like, well, I just think you're so pretty. And then it's like her whole everything changes to, oh, he thinks I'm pretty. Yay. Okay, well, I'll date him then. Like, other people don't think she's pretty. And then later on in the movie, she's with, okay, so we're into spoilers here, but it's an 83-minute movie, so you'd already be 10 minutes into it by now if you started it when you start watching this video. But Justin Hartley, who played Green Arrow on Smallville, recognized him immediately, because I love the guy. I think he's great. I don't understand why he never became a big star as well. But he plays Brody, who's the ex-boyfriend for Kate. And right away you can see they work. The on-screen chemistry between the two of them is actually excellent. It's good. And so when Adam Devine's in a scene with the two of them and they're flirting with each other, and he says, I'm going to take her to Brazil and I'm trying to take her back, her answer to Phil, who she's been dating and she's slept with, is, I haven't decided whether I'm going to Brazil with Brody or not. Okay. An ex walks in and says, I am trying to win your significant other back. I'm going to take her to Brazil. My intention is to seduce her with my charms. Oh, and by the way, look at my pecs. I'm a beautiful man. And so the idea that then Phil gets upset and storms out, and Kate doesn't understand why he's upset. And this is another point in the movie where I'm like, okay, seriously. And I even asked Yvonne, I said, so if I had somebody from my past saying they were going to take me to Brazil and they were trying to win me back, and my answer was, well, I don't know if I'm going to go or not. I said, wouldn't you be upset? And she's like, well, yeah. So they were trying to portray it that Phil was being unreasonable and that Kate was just hanging out with her ex. He smacks her on the backside a couple times. So that happens. She just giggles and gives him a little slap for it. Like, stop. It looks like they're together in a couple of scenes. And then Phil comes in and when Brody's packed to go to Brazil, he punches him in the throat. It's played for a laugh. And I thought that was a completely over-the-top reaction for the character played by Adam Devine to punch him in the throat. And then Kate's like, that was kind of hot. Why? So she has already decided she's not going to Brazil with him and that she's going to stay with Phil because that's what the script told her. Because there's no other logical reason for her not to go to Brazil. None. There's none. He doesn't have a job because he gets fired because of the junk photo being sent around the entire office by his phone. So he doesn't have a job. He has just an apartment that he's living in, and he has no prospects. And so they get together, and then he has a nice office and a good job at the end of the movie. And then the AI comes back to him and says, "Oh, I've learned and I care about you and I'm glad to see you're doing so well and I'm not in love with you anymore." It's really weird. And he just the whole time through he's like, "Oh, yeah, Jexy, that's great. It's great." And he just talks to her. And I'm thinking, she tried to murder you and she's an AI that's sentient. How in the world are people in this movie just like, oh, the AI is sentient? Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Tried murdering you, did it? Ah, it's in love with you? That's interesting. Huh, AIs are tricky, aren't they? Aren't AIs fun? I just do not understand. So what you have here is a good first half of the movie where a lot of the jokes landed. A second half of the movie where the jokes don't land. The coarse language is something I saw a lot of criticism of. I thought it was justified in the first half. I thought it was insanely stupid in the second half. I will agree. And I'm not a prude. I don't mind bad language. I love Tarantino movies. So clearly bad language doesn't bother me. I also like Scorsese movies that have been known to have some bad language in them. But it has to work. It's something I've criticized with music. There's times where you can hear a bunch of cursing and swearing in movie or in songs because it's there. Like it feels lazy. And so my biggest complaint with swearing in songs isn't there's swearing in songs, it's when it's lazy. When it's like, you don't need to use all that language in there, you're just doing it so you get that sticker on your album, and people go, oh, look how edgy he is. Ooh, he knows all the swear words. So it did feel that way, and Kai was a bad boss, and I never bought it. And it's weird because I like Michael Pena. When this movie started out, I was like, well, I like that person, I like that person. This should be a good movie. It was part of the reason I wanted to watch it because there were a lot of actors and actresses in it. I was like, I like these people, and it didn't land. When he plays kickball in the movie, I honestly thought that was funny, and I thought there should have been more of that. Because it honestly showed some kind of a growth for his character, and then they just kind of go, who needs growth? Who needs growth when you have gross out humor? So, what's growth? Apparently not something that exists in the land of Jexy. It's too bad. You know, yes, Phil's got a better job. Yes, Jexy decides she's not going to stalk him anymore. But at the end of the movie, then, you know, Michael Pena's character gets the same phone. He doesn't read the terms of service either, and he agrees. And there you go. It just, I don't understand it. You see way more of Adam Devine's junk than anybody would ever ever want. And not only that, but nobody ever wants that ever. The one joke that I thought was good was that he was taking all these pictures of himself with the idea of sending these pictures to Kate. And the phone kept saying she does not want that. And so she talks him out of it, so he texts her instead. And Kate answers with, "I'm really glad you didn't send me a naked picture because that's what I was kind of expecting. I'm really glad you didn't." And then his phone goes, "See, women don't want that kind of thing." And then two scenes later, takes all the photos he took to send to her and angrily sends it to everybody he works with and gets him fired. Like it just there's this inconsistency in the characters. There's an inconsistency in the storytelling, and by the end of it, it's just kind of a mess. And so I understand why the movie underperformed in 2019 when it came out because I never heard of it. And I also understand why people would check it out on Netflix. My prediction is it's not going to stay number one on Netflix for very long at all. But based on the numbers for streaming, I would imagine it does well enough that Netflix will be happy with it. But streaming's one of those odd things, right? Like number one on Netflix, is it actually number one? They don't release all the stats, right? So it may very well be that they put a movie out there and go, all right, we'll throw that at number one on the chart, and that'll get more people to watch it. So maybe it's Netflix doubling down on the idea it's a good movie, but it's just there's so many things. Like I could spend a lot more time with Wanda Sykes' character as Denise. I thought her I could handle 20 minutes of her just roasting people that come in to buy phones. Just roasting people who come in to buy phones. I could handle 20 minutes of Kate fixing bikes and working on bikes and teaching Phil how to work and how to fix a bike. Like when in the movie when he's like, I don't even know how to blow up a bike tire. Yes, you do. Everybody knows how to. And she's like, you don't? Nope. And I'm like, everybody, you know how to inflate a bike tire, right? You just take the little nibby knobby off the tire there, and you slap it up, and then you pump it up, and you're done. There you go. And if you're like, what kind of language is that? Go get it. Go get a bike tire, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And you'll pump up the tire, and you're done. Nobody had to show me how to pump up. Nobody ever had to show me how to inflate a bike tire. There was a time when I would fix my own bike, and I whatever was wrong with it, I'd fix it myself, and nobody ever had to show me how to do most of it. There was the bike shop nearby that for some of it I would ask them, how do I replace this? How do I replace that? But bikes are really pretty simple. They're tricky to get exactly right, so I would fix it and then I would take it over to the bike shop and ask them to tune it and make sure it's 100% everything's right. Especially if it was brakes or if it was something that involved some kind of an alignment. Learned that the hard way. But but the reality is bikes are relatively easy to fix. And you can feel like you're handy without, having to worry about all the auto mechanic stuff if you want to be handy. And so, yeah, that was one of those lines where I'm like, nobody doesn't know how to pump up a bike tire. Like, I get it. He's a loser. He doesn't leave his apartment. He doesn't do anything. I get it. But everybody knows how to pump up a bike tire. And then I want to close up with this too. There's a part where he's got like cases of this kind of food, and he's got all kinds of, and he's buying all this stuff, and I'm thinking, where's the money coming? Like, if he's fired with cause, he's not getting unemployment. So and so, how much money had he had saved? Because they tell you right away he's got a crappy job. He's not making a lot of money. He gets demoted in one of the early scenes in the movie, so I mean, and there's the visual joke in there, but it didn't make a lot of sense. But again, I'm probably overthinking it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always, especially if you saw the movie. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.